is Mutt. Can everybody say hi, Mutt?
Good morning.
Mutt's working. He got called in the ministry, and he's working on speaking and wanting to speak correctly. And so I've been having him do practicing.
Unique New York.
Unique New York. Good job, man. Can you do it real fast?
No.
Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of story of Mutt and his life. Can I do that real fast? His name that we identified as Mutt. His mom and dad, whenever he was young, they couldn't raise him. They didn't want to raise him. Whatever happened, they didn't want to. So they gave him to his grandmother. And his grandmother raises Mutt, trying to do the best she can with this little wild man and trying to take care of him. At the age of 11, she dies. When he is 11 and broke his heart. Life was turned upside down. He didn't know where he was going to live, so he bounced around from family to family. At the age of 11, he even had an electricity bill, a utility bill in his name. He goes to his mom, and his mom says, well, I need to start getting child support for you if we're going to try to take care of you. And he says, child support at 11? Why do you need child support? My dad is here at the house. And she says, well, he's not really your dad. So, years go by, stories go by, bad decisions, good decisions, life happens to him. He ends up in some crazy places. And how old was it whenever you started hanging out with your dad? How old was it whenever you had the moment where your wife spoke what she spoke?
I was 20.
20 years old in Wichita Falls, after bouncing around Wichita Falls, married in your first marriage. Drugs had gotten a hold of you. Different things had happened in your life. And while you were sitting there, you're playing pool with your father. Your wife says this, just out of the blue. She says, tell us the truth. Roger, that's his real name, Rogelio Roger. Roger's mom is not really his mom. Just out of the blue said that, right?
Right.
And he said, how did you know?
Right.
A few months later, you go sit down with your mom. And she said, there's so much I wish I could tell you, right? And the story unveils, and this is what happens. When Mutt was a baby, his parents came over from Mexico. And they come to work for this farmer. The farmer at the time, his wife was also pregnant. Well, they decide that his mom needs to go back and get her other kids from Mexico and to bring them up. And so they give the baby to a welder and his wife to take care of while they're gone, and they're going to come back. During the time that they're gone, the farmer's wife has a miscarriage. The baby dies, and they bury the baby. Whenever his mom comes back, the welder and his wife take him to a grave and say, this is where your baby died. Your baby's dead. And they kidnapped him. And after a while, they decided they didn't want him. And then they passed him to his grandma, who's not really his grandma. Then he finds out his mom or his dad is not really his dad. Then the second dad that he meets, that he thinks this is his dad, he finds out that's not my real dad either. My mom's not my mom. And all of a sudden, he feels like a mutt. It's like a made-for-TV movie, right? Broken and alone. What were you going to say?
Lifetime.
Lifetime. Broken and alone. He finds out that his family, his biological family, live in Pampa. And so he comes and he gets to meet them, and he finds out he's got brothers, and he's got a mother, all of these things, father, all these things around, right? But he's never really accepted. He's kind of held at distance, alone and isolated. He gets into a church with his son. His marriage has fallen apart. He gets remarried. He has a son. Gets into a church, and his son gets saved and starts bringing him into the church service. And Mutt gets in there, and Mutt's excited, and Mutt wants to serve. And the guy gets up there, the preacher, and he says, we need somebody to help drive the bus. We need somebody to help go pick up kids to do it. Mutt says, I've got a CDL. I'll do it. And this is what the guy says. He looks at him, and he says, we would would not let anybody that looked like you drive a bus to pick up kids. Because he's got tattoos because of his past. And Mutt's heart was broke once again at the place where he felt like somebody could love him. He was dejected. Well, we have a guy at the church that they worked together up at Titan and started inviting them. And who invited you? And how did he invite you?
Rod Crow.
Rod
Rod Crow started inviting me, and I was like, no, I ain't going to church. He was like, come on. I'm like, I'm not going to church. Every day he'd ask me. He wouldn't stop.
Tell him the selling point.
And then I was getting there.
I'm sorry.
He tells me, he was like, all right, you ain't got to come on a Sunday, but you can come on a Wednesday. I said, I don't care if it's a Tuesday, I ain't going. He said, well, at this time, he said, well, on Wednesday we have a meal.
By the way, we don't have a meal anymore.
No,
so
we don't
come
do that no
expecting
more.
that.
I was getting there. We don't do that no more. I wish they did, because they were like, he was like, all right, we got chicken fried steak. He was like, if you come, bring your whole family, I'll buy you all chicken fried steak dinner. I said, I done told you I'll be there on Wednesday. I'll be there. So I show up, and you know, my kids, they like it. They like it a lot. There's at that time Marty was doing the children ministry part. They loved Marty, and it was all right. And you know, I came in and just kind of sat there. I didn't really mess with anybody that day. So I was like, all right, we'll try it on Sunday. All that stuff happened. I don't like people. I didn't trust anybody. I don't like anybody.
Hey,
I didn't want anybody looking at me.
Rightfully so. I mean, like, you've been rejected a lot.
I just didn't trust anyone. I didn't want anyone coming into my zone. You can ask my wife, Tabitha, I don't know where she's at. She was like, you're cruel. I didn't like people coming into me. First person I see when I walk through those doors is Rick Pearson.
He gets all up in your bubble.
Yeah. He was all giving me a hug, shaking my hand, telling me he loved me. I was like, I don't know you. You know, I was like, wow, like, well, all right. But there's a lot of new people in this church. I've never seen this many people here. I've been coming 6 years, 7 years.
6 years ago. I can remember the Wednesday, by the way, that you came to the church that day for the chicken fried steak.
And there's a lot of new people in this church. And there's a lot of different people. There's no barrier here. You know, that's the greatest thing that I've seen. Me and Dallas, we've gone to other churches.
That's what I was going to ask is what have you done since you got into church? You've dedicated your life to Christ. You started serving, started coming. What all have you done in ministry in the church? You worked in Sunday school with the kids.
I helped with Sunday school for a while.
You do Awanas with the kids.
I did Awanas with the kids.
By the way, the audacity of a church having somebody that would look like him get to work with children.
Right.
Work with children.
Mm-hmm.
You've ran a van to pick up kids.
We did that for a while.
Did that. And how many mission trips? We went to Highlands, New Mexico, to the college there, and we did stuff. We went to Port Arthur twice.
Yep.
And went and shared the gospel. We've done 3 Disciple Nows together to do it. But my favorite ministry that Mutt is involved in, my favorite one. Tell them what your priority ministry here is at the church. Besides helping with the media, what is your priority ministry?
Baptistry.
The baptistry.
I love the baptistry. You see the people. You see, it's like you see them broken. Like that's the moment that you can even see and witness a part of them going in, like feeling ashamed of who they are and coming out and being like, all right, I'm ready to do something new. And that part of it is just amazing to me. The prayer before we do each baptism, there's every single baptism that we do, there's a prayer that happens. And it might sound like it's routine, but it's meaningful every single time.
Hey, I want to show you something besides all the pictures, and this is for you, okay?
Okay.
I want you to see them. If you were here and you have been baptized and Mutt helped you with towels, with anything, with helping you up and down, would you raise your hand and tell us? Look at that, buddy. Yeah. That's what you did. You helped with every one of those. And I want you to know, man, Like, I know you felt like a mutt. I know you felt like you were unloved for a lot of times, but I want you to know, like, I love you. And you're part of a family that is bigger than anything in the world. And when you felt isolated, when you felt alone, when you felt unclean because the way people said you looked or the life that you used to live, God came and he healed you and he made you whole.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you're the man that used to be a mutt. Now you're with a family that loves you. Amen?
Amen.
Good job, buddy.